Hey guys, today I want to talk about how to live with your mistakes and move on from them. I made a video kind of similar to this in the past, so if you want to watch it you can, but I just wanted to talk a little bit more about it because I've gotten a lot of comments on that one and questions on that one too, and so I made new points to talk about it more. And I think everybody can relate to like doing something or experiencing something that you regret a lot. And even if we've done everything right since then and tried to make things right, it doesn't feel right to us, and it doesn't feel like we can move on, and it feels like you've just like wronged everyone and embarrassed everybody around you. Whether it's like you lost a tournament, you didn't make it into your program that you wanted to get into, or you just feel like you let everyone down, or you've, just a lot of regrets that you have in life, whether it was like addiction or whatever. I hope you take comfort in this video because there's literally no shame here, like ever, because we're all just people at the end of the day. I recently got a comment that was like, how do I tell people about the mistakes that I've made in my life, right? How do I, I'm afraid that people are going to hate me. I'm afraid that nobody's going to want to be my friend. Nobody's going to want to date me. Nobody's going to want to be around me after I tell them. And I'm assuming that they meant like, how do I tell someone new in my life whenever they're just entering my life, whether that be like a new partner or something, whether like maybe you've committed a crime or something and you've served jail time or whatever, or you have like a history of addiction or whatever the case may be, right? That you feel regret for, or remorse, or just like embarrassment, or whatever the case may be. And I think that everybody deserves to have an opinion or say something and it be wrong at a certain time, right? Like we all deserve to learn and to change, like whether you were racist in the past, and like there's been people who've been extremely racist to me in the past, and I've had to let it go, and I've had to realize that that was a past version of them. You know what, I work with somebody who was racist and rude to me in school, and I still, like, I basically fully forgive them. Like, I don't really feel much anger towards them anymore because I realized that that was when we were younger, and they've learned from that. They work with kids that are from different cultures and countries. They've clearly learned from it, and even though she never said sorry to me, she talks to me as if it's never happened, and I just feel like she's learned a lot. And I think that everybody deserves to learn and to grow freely. And obviously it's horrific to be a fucking racist and to be, a homophobe and all these things, but I think that it's better for people to turn around and realize what the things that they've said or the things that they've done were harmful. And I think that if we can't forgive people, then it turns into like nobody's ever going to change, and the world's never going to change, and we're always going to have rude ass people or people who think that they're better than everyone. They don't have to change because nobody will accept them if they change, type thing. And not everybody thinks like that, and that's another point that I want to say, that like the people in your life, if you tell them about your past and they don't resonate with it, or they don't agree with it, or they don't want to be friends with you because of it, that's okay too. They're not a bad person for that. Again, everybody's entitled to their own opinion and to their own actions. Like, nobody has to be friends with you, period. Like, if you've done something, or even if you haven't done something that you regret and people don't want to be friends with you, they don't have to, and that doesn't make them a bad person. It doesn't make you a bad person, right? If you've done everything possible to change what you've done in the past, and you tell them like, hey, look, I've done this, this, and this, and I've worked so hard on changing and making it better. I've apologized to everybody, and I just want to let you know of this, and just be honest with them, and they're like, you know what, like, that's not something that I resonate with and I don't want to be friends with you, that's fine. You don't want to have people, especially in this time in your life when you're trying to change your life around, you don't want to have people who don't accept you, right? It doesn't make them necessarily a bad person, but you don't want people around like that, because you will never change. You will constantly be in this cycle of like, I fucked up, I hate myself, because these people, if you befriend them, even after they tell you that they don't agree with that and that they find you a horrible person, if you beg for their approval, you will always be in a cycle of like having to prove something to someone because of your past and whatever. You need to have people around you who accept you for your wrongs and your rights, and for your changes, and for your redemption arc. And yeah, it's really important to have that in your life. So like, you know, there's been people who don't agree with certain things that I've chosen to do with my life, and I like respectfully don't have them in my life anymore, because I can't have that in my life, because I need people who will support me no matter what mistakes I've made. And I feel like we've all kind of made mistakes in life that consume our minds for some point in time, or even kind of since you can remember, whether that be like months or years or days or whatever. Whenever I make stupid mistakes or things that like, because if I have a conversation with anybody, I will pick it apart until I find something to dwell on. But whenever I make like mistakes in my days or my life or whatever, I try to remember that that's the best that I could do in the moment. Whether it's that I yelled at somebody, or I crashed out, or I, you know, made a mistake on a test that caused me to fail the test, or whatever it was, I did the best with what I had. If you had known all the things that you know now after making that mistake, you probably wouldn't have done it. But, you know, with the emotions that you had going on, or the events that you had going on in your life, or trauma or whatever, it's what you did, and it's the best that you thought you could do. And even if it wasn't the best, even if you knew it was probably not a good idea, you still did it because of the circumstances that you were in. And sometimes we're in situations where we're in like so much pain that you think that doing anything, like doing something, will ease it, like yelling at someone, using substances, maybe even like selling parts of yourself online or whatever. You think it's going to fix things or numb the pain or whatever, and it doesn't, but you think it will. And that's kind of just the result of the situation that you're in. But yeah, try not to be so hard on yourself, because honestly, you did the best with what you could at the time, most of the time. The next thing that I try to remind myself is that we are here to learn in life. Like, there's no perfect person. And when you start to think of it like that, like the life is just an experience to learn things and to get better. Like, there's nobody placed here on earth, even the smartest person ever is here to learn. And the smartest people know that they don't know everything, you know, because then what's the point in life? Like, you might as well just not be here if you know everything and you're just like some know-it-all who has nothing to learn, nothing to improve on. And something that I've like noticed in life is that there's just some lessons that you cannot learn without actually experiencing it. Like, whenever I was a teenager, if somebody would have told me like, don't do that, you're going to regret it, don't, you know, make these decisions, don't do this because it's going to lead to this, I would have been like, whatever, like, I'm going to do it anyways, because I thought I was fucking bigger than the program. And it is what it is. Like, I had to go through certain things, and I had to make certain mistakes that are friggin' embarrassing, but I had to do that in order to learn and to grow and to be the person that I am now. And I'm honestly glad that I did it then, because had I been doing those types of stupid mistakes whenever like I had a job that I had to keep, or if, you know, whenever it was like really like I had a lot, if I made those mistakes whenever I had a lot to lose, that would have been, you know. So I think, and I truly believe that everything happens in the right time, and we're all like, everything that we experience, we were meant to experience. And I know that sucks, because sometimes we like have things happen to us, it's just like, what the shit. But yeah, like, and another thing that's really important to remember is the fact that you feel like a loser, piece of shit, speaks volumes. Like, that's a great thing, no offense, that you feel like a piece of shit, or you feel like a loser, because that means that you learned. That means that, you know, some people don't feel remorse the first, second, third time, so they just keep doing it and make the same mistakes and just keep building on that hurt, because they don't reflect, they don't see what they did wrong, they don't see the mistakes. They're like, oh, whatever. And then they build like a huge pile of just like later on regret. Like, I know this person who just like thinks that they are like perfect, and they are making so many mistakes, and they're like, why is the world against me? And I'm like, that is you keep making these mistakes over and over. And they're like, no, it can't be me. I'm like, okay, it's gonna hit you in the face sooner or later. And I think that it's great that we are in this position right now, that we're like, shit, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why am I this way? Because we're learning sooner rather than later. And I try to always think about it as like, maybe the actions that I made or took resulted in a fail or a mistake or whatever, but really that was a success in and of itself, because I learned something from that, and I won't do it again, you know. And now I'm wiser than I once was, and I know that like is like friggin' hard to think, especially whenever you look at how embarrassing or how much that mistake might have set you back in life. It's like, you will realize one day that it's a great thing that it did happen, because like, you know, you're not going to do it again. You know, I think sometimes the greatest feeling is embarrassment, because now you know that you've truly learned something, and you've gained so much more awareness for like danger around you, or like red flags that you might have ignored, or just whatever, that it's like you've leveled up in life, basically. And I don't think that there is any successful person that hasn't gone through horrific mistakes. You know, I think the most successful people would have faced the most mistakes and the most horrifying feelings of embarrassment. Like celebrities, like their mistakes are magnified, right? So they feel intense remorse or intense mistakes. Or the most successful business owners, you know, would have had to fall back a million times, and those fallbacks would hit even harder because they want to succeed so bad, you know, so it hit so much harder. And whenever they do make mistakes, their business is already so high up. So it's best to make mistakes early on than later on, I think, whenever you've already built such a big company or whatever, or a big name for yourself. So I think that your mistakes will happen at the right time, and I think you need to learn how to overcome these mistakes too and move on from it, or else like you will not make it, you know. Another thing that I often remind myself is that beating myself up for my past mistakes won't make me a better person in the slightest. You know, those people who are just like miserable and don't allow them to change, and don't allow good things into their life because they think that they seriously do not deserve it. And like, most of the times it's just so depressing being around them, because they don't think that they deserve good things. So most of the time they end up hurting you more, because they don't care about themselves. So then they obviously don't care about the people around them. If they don't care about themselves, they don't care about their friends, because that's basically a part of themselves. And they don't care about their peers, they don't care about other people around them. They think that they're already such a bad person already, so they're like this big victim. So like, what more do they have to lose? And the more and more you belittle yourself and put yourself down for a mistake that you've made, the more you're going to turn out like that. And like, shitting on yourself for past mistakes will not change your past, but it will definitely change your future, and for the worse, honestly. Because if you don't believe that you deserve forgiveness and you deserve a second chance and that you can turn your life around, you will not make good decisions, and you will just be in this constant cycle of, I can't make good choices, I hate myself, I'm fucking stupid, I should have known better, I should have done better. But because you think like this, you will never do better, and you will never be better, because you need to realize that like, that was a different version of you. The person that made that mistake was hurt, was traumatized, was like feeling so many insane emotions they didn't know how to process at that time. And you know what, like, maybe some of the things that you did are not justifiable, but clearly you've changed, and clearly you know better, and clearly you feel fucking remorse. So like, and you did not die, and your life did not end whenever you made that mistake. So clearly the universe or God or whatever you believe in believed that you deserved a second chance. So you need to get your head out of your ass and realize that like, you deserve a second chance. And if you get a second chance, whether you came out of jail, whether you have finally gotten off drugs, whether you got out of an abusive relationship, whatever that may be, you got a second chance, so you better take that second chance and do something with it. Because if the world thinks that you deserve a second chance, that is the biggest compliment that there is. But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Yeah. I hope that this brings you any level of comfort, because I know that it can, you know, fucking suck. Whenever you are embarrassed or remorseful or feel like a piece of shit for whatever you've done in the past. But I just want to let you know that like it will pass if you take time and reflect and forgive yourself. And I think that forgiveness really starts within yourself. Like, you cannot apologize to someone with, like, obviously you could apologize to people with like a heart full of regret, but you can't apologize to someone with a heart full of anger. And if you're constantly angry at yourself, it's just not gonna work. And you need to, in order to change and fully learn from your mistakes, you also need to forgive yourself. And again, like, a lot of the times we make stupid mistakes out of survival, because either from like trying to gain control over trauma, or whatever financial situation you were in at the time can make you do stupid shit. And we're all trying, you know, we're all learning, and I'm not above anybody or any program, and I'm not here to judge any singular person for what they've done in the past. I always tell people that whenever they like tell me like, oh, I live with da 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 because of, and I'm like, you don't have to explain shit to me unless you're like a child predator or something like that. Like, but yeah, that's the video. Okay, bye.